Takashi is a loser whose best friend is bagging the girl he loves. But when the zombie apocalypse suddenly happens, he saves her along with all the hotties of the school, forming the Dream Squad to survive in the end of the world. Before all the chaos, Takashi skips class and reflects on his depressing mistakes, where he dumped his childhood friend Rei because she repeated a year in school. Rei once made a pinky promise with Takashi that they would get married one day, but he now knows that dream is over. Suddenly, his tsundere and nerdy but hot friend, Saya, confronts him and calls him stupid because she's heard the rumors, then tells him she hates idiots and wants him to change. Takashi doesn't thank her, so Saya leaves him alone. Just then, Takashi sees someone banging loudly on the school's entrance gate. The teachers confront the man but don't realize that he's already dead. One teacher tries to handle the problem but gets suddenly bitten, which makes Takashi and the others panic. The teachers check on the bitten teacher and confirm he's dead, but the bitten man suddenly stands up and attacks, eliminating them all. Takashi witnesses it all and becomes terrified. He immediately runs to Rei's class and tells her that she needs to come with him. Everyone is confused by his behavior, but Takashi explains to Rei and her new boyfriend, Hisashi, what he saw at the entrance gate. At first, Rei doesn't believe him, so Takashi slaps her face, shocking everyone. He insists that he's telling the truth, and Hisashi believes him. They quickly head to the locker room to grab anything that could serve as a weapon. While they prepare, Rei tries to call her father, who is a police officer, but she's shocked to find that the emergency line is busy.
110 is experiencing an extremely high call volume.
Suddenly, a voice over the PA system announces that the school is in danger, and everyone must evacuate immediately. At first, no one believes the message, thinking that it's a prank, but suddenly,
Get away from me! Get back!
teachers and students start rushing out of their classrooms to evacuate, causing chaos. Hisashi and the others see the crowds fleeing through the front gate, so Hisashi leads them through a shortcut. Along the way, they see one of their teachers wandering aimlessly, but realize that something is clearly wrong. When he suddenly attacks, the group tells Rei to stab him. She hesitates, unable to bring herself to eliminate her teacher, and tries to defend herself, but she's too weak. Summoning her resolve, Rei dodges his attack and stabs him in the heart. To their horror, the teacher doesn't die and lunges again, trying to bite her in her hot melons. Hisashi restrains him, giving Rei a chance to stab him again, but even then, he keeps moving viciously, his head twisting unnaturally in a full circle. He bites Hisashi's arm before Takashi smashes his skull. As Hisashi stands up, they see more zombies closing in. Hisashi leads them to the school's roof, hoping they can wait for help there. But when they look out across the city, they see only ruin, fire spreading everywhere. They can't believe how quickly their peaceful world has collapsed. Suddenly, military helicopters fly overhead. Rei waves and calls for help, but Hisashi knows they won't come, as they're needed elsewhere. Looking down, they see the rest of the school has turned into a nightmare where students are being eaten alive. After observing their behavior, Takashi concludes that these creatures spread a virus through biting and can only be stopped by destroying the head. Soon, the zombies reach the roof, cornering them. Takashi spots a safer area and leads Rei and Hisashi there. After Hisashi takes Rei to a safe spot, they make it and barricade the stairs behind them. Then Hisashi starts coughing up blood, slowly turning into one of them. Rei and Takashi can see it, even though Hisashi was only bitten once, and Rei begs Takashi to help him before he becomes dangerous. Hisashi tells Takashi that he'll jump off the building himself to die as a human, but he needs their help to get there. Rei refuses, sobbing, but Hisashi yells at them, desperate to end his life before losing himself. Soon, Hisashi's eyes glaze over and he stops breathing. Rei cries beside him, hoping it's over, but Takashi knows what must be done. When Hisashi suddenly stirs, rising with lifeless eyes, Takashi grabs his bat and smashes his head until he's still. After Hisashi's second death, Rei breaks down, saying she wants to be bitten too so she can join Hisashi. Then she turns on Takashi, screaming that he whacked Hisashi out of jealousy of him getting to her honey cave before him. Heartbroken, Takashi decides to leave her alone and go fight the zombies himself. But before he can go, Rei stops him, apologizing for everything she said. Takashi pulls her into a hug, holding her tightly, and in that moment, he realizes that on the day the world ends, he has eliminated his best friend and embraced the girl he loves. Meanwhile, Saya and Kuda are still in the classroom, unable to believe that humans are eating other humans. Saya thinks it's a joke or a prank at first, but when she sees people dying, she realizes it's real and that she has to survive. Kuda wants to go to the staff room with Saya to get help from a teacher, but Saya shows him that many students have already tried that, and Kuda is shocked to see that those students have been eaten by zombies. Meanwhile, Takashi and Rei are still on the school's roof, while the zombies can't reach them because they've barricaded the entrance. They sit beside Hisashi's corpse, both shaken, and Takashi is traumatized, knowing he was the one who had clapped his best friend dead. They want to know what's happening in the world, so Rei borrows Takashi's phone to call their father. Takashi reminds her that the emergency lines are down, but Rei says that she has a secret contact number that connects directly to her father. To her surprise, her father answers, but the signal is terrible. Rei struggles to make out his voice, hearing only gunfire and shouting in the background. Then her father hangs up, assuming Takashi is the one who called, and doesn't realize his daughter is still alive and kicking. Rei breaks down in tears, devastated that her father didn't know it was her. Elsewhere, Saya and Kuta hide on the stairway, and Kuta asks to borrow Saya's phone to call the police, but she reminds him that zombies are everywhere, and countless students have probably tried already. Kuta then wonders what the government is doing, but Saya explains that there are millions of people in Japan, so the government must be overwhelmed, as no one can control a zombie outbreak. Suddenly, a zombie spots them, forcing them to run and find a safer place. Meanwhile, the blonde bombshell of a nurse, Shizuka, and a student are hiding in the nurse's office. They notice a zombie still moving nearby, and terrified, the student whacks it with a metal pole. He urges Shizuka to escape with him, but she insists on collecting medicine since she's the school nurse. But her delay costs them more. Zombies break into the room, and the student holds them off, but gets bitten, while Shizuka screams as she's left alone. Suddenly, Seiko, a sword-wielding baddie, appears, slicing through the zombies with precision. Seiko quickly realizes that the guy has been bitten, so she gives him a choice to either die as a human or become one of them. The guy, Kazu, chooses to die as himself, and without hesitation, Seiko swings her sword, ending his life. Meanwhile, Saya and Kuta are hiding in a classroom. Saya gathers tools she's found. Knowing Kuta is a gun enthusiast, she orders him to craft a weapon since the zombies are closing in. As the undead pound on the door, Saya panics, but Kuta stays calm. He builds a makeshift nail gun, and when the zombies burst through, he stands ready like a DIY John Wick. Together, Saya and Kuta fight off the zombies surrounding them. Afterward, Kuta wonders if Saya chose him for a reason, but she bluntly says there was no reason, deflating him. Still, they continue clearing their way through the halls, whacking zombies as they go to reach a safer place. On the roof, Takashi and Rei realize the barricade is breaking, so Takashi grabs a fire hose and sprays the zombies off the roof. The water and chaos remind them of Hisashi, but the memory is painful, as they know he's gone. Rei tells Takashi she's ready to escape the school, so she hands him the baseball bat, and when their hands touch, she blushes. They know it's not the time for emotions, so they quickly refocus and fight their way through the building. On the stairway, Takashi tells Rei he wants to head home and help any survivors they find along the way. Rei agrees that it's a good idea, and she wants to find her father too. However, despite his calm expression, Takashi silently worries about his own family, who could already be dead. Elsewhere, Saya and Kota's experiment on a zombie in the hallway. Through observation, Saya realizes that zombies can't see or feel anything, but they react strongly to sound. When Kota questions why she wants to go outside, they start arguing. Their argument ends abruptly when a horde of zombies attacks. They run for their lives and make it to the school's main entrance. At the same time, Saiko and Shizuka make their way to the staff office. Saiko clears zombies from their path while Shizuka struggles to keep up. Shizuka trips because of her long skirt, so Saiko tears it shorter, reminding her that fashion doesn't matter in an apocalypse. Shizuka cries over her ruined skirt, but Saiko snaps at her, saying that her life is worth more than clothes. Back at the entrance, Kota and Saya manage to fend off the zombies, but Kota runs out of ammo. One zombie lunges at Saya and she screams in terror. Her cry echoes through the halls, catching Saiko and Takashi's attention. Saya finally snaps, fed up with everything, and claps the attacking zombie by drilling its head open. Saiko and Takashi arrive moments later and find Saya trembling. They quickly eliminate the remaining zombies to secure the area, while Rei and Shizuka rush over to check on Saya, who's still in shock. After clearing the area, the survivors finally introduce themselves to each other, but that annoys Saya as she thinks everyone is being too soft. Then Saya catches her reflection in a mirror, her clothes soaked in blood. The sight makes her think of her mother and she breaks down sobbing, desperate to go home. Saiko and Takashi comfort her until she calms down. The group then heads to the staff office to rest, and while everyone takes a breather, Kuta checks on Saya again. She's just finished cleaning up and putting on her glasses, which makes Kuta blush. As Rei turns on the TV, the group discusses their next move and decides to take the school bus to check on their families. Suddenly, Rei gasps at what she sees on the screen. Saiko turns up the volume, and the group watches in disbelief as the government calls the apocalypse a revolt. The live broadcast cuts to scenes of reporters covering the chaos, only for them to be attacked by zombies on air. The group watches in horror as the reality sinks in that the world outside is no safer than the world within. It is soon confirmed that the chaos has spread all over the world, and hearing this, Takashi grows furious that the news provides so little information. Saya explains that the news is withholding details to prevent mass panic, because if people lose control, society will fall into anarchy, and the government won't be able to contain the undead. The group is stunned to realize that zombies are everywhere, meaning there's no safe place left, and unsure of what to do next. Shizuka insists on going home, but Saya scolds her, reminding everyone that they are a team. They must stop thinking only of themselves and start working together. The group agrees and prepares to head to the parking lot to get the school bus. As they move through the halls, eliminating zombies that cross their path, Saya and Saiko remind everyone not to fight unless necessary and to stay quiet. Suddenly, they hear a scream echo through the corridor. They rush toward the noise and find a group of surviving students armed with improvised weapons, cornered by zombies. Takashi and the others jump in to help, saving them from being devoured. Saya instructs everyone to stay quiet, and then invites the survivors to join their group. When they reach the front doors, they see zombies swarming outside. They realize they're trapped and must wait for an opening. Saya insists that the zombies can't see and can only hear, but no one fully trusts her theory, so to prove it, someone has to test it. Takashi volunteers, proving that he has the biggest dingleberries, despite Rei's attempt to stop him. Takashi descends the stairs alone and stands among the zombie, but none of them attack him, and one even walks right past him. To draw them away, Takashi throws a shoe across the hall, and the zombies follow, the noise. Taking advantage of the distraction, Takashi and Saiko open the front doors, clearing the way for everyone to escape. But then, one of the panicked survivors bumps into the metal railing, the loud clang echoing throughout the school. The sound draws every zombie nearby straight toward the group, and Takashi shouts for everyone to run to the parking lot. Leading the group, Takashi and Saiko fight their way to the school bus. As they near it, one of the survivors is dragged down by zombies. His lover screams and tries to go after him, but Saya restrains her, warning that it's pointless. The girl breaks free anyway, choosing to die with her lover. Watching them perish together, Shizuka murmurs that she would want to die with someone she loves too, which enrages Saya even more. Takashi finally clears a path to the bus, and Shizuka climbs into the driver's seat but struggles to start it, as it's not the same as her car. As she fumbles with the controls, another group of survivors rushes toward them, screaming for help. Rei recognizes one of them, her teacher, Kochi. Takashi moves to help, but Rei stops him, and she doesn't want anything to do with the freaky teacher. Kochi appears calm and in control, but deep down, he doesn't care about anyone else. When one of his group members trips and sprains his ankle, Koichi cruelly steps on the man's face and leaves him behind to be eaten. He and the rest of his group make it to the bus, and Shizuka finally gets it started. She hesitates at first, unwilling to run over the zombies since they were once human, but she forces herself to drive forward, crushing them to escape the school grounds. As the bus speeds away, Koichi notices the group has no clear leader. He quickly volunteers for the position, warning that they'll fall apart without someone in charge. Takashi hesitates, but Rei warns him that he'll regret it if Koichi becomes the leader. They drive through the ruined city, flames lighting up the skyline, and inside the bus, one of Koichi's followers glares at Takashi, clearly disliking him despite never having spoken to him. The man refuses to follow Takashi's or Saya's instructions, which angers Shizuka so much that she slams on the brakes and yells at everyone to calm down. The defiant man tries to punch Takashi, but Rei blocks the attack with her staff. Koichi claps mockingly, congratulating them for showing teamwork that could destroy group unity. He repeats that they need a leader, and Saya offers to take the role, but Koichi reminds them that he's the only teacher present, implying he's the most qualified. He promises to prevent conflict if he's in charge, winning over his followers. The group votes, and Koichi becomes the leader by majority. Furious, Rei can't stand this ugly dog's behavior, so she storms off the bus, refusing to stay near him. Koichi smugly tells her that if she can't cooperate, she should leave, but Rei doesn't hesitate and walks away. Takashi follows, trying to reason with her and convince her to stay with the group. But as they argue, a roaring sound grows louder in the distance. A bus full of zombies barrels toward them. Shizuka swerves just in time to save her passengers, but Takashi and Rei are cut off, forced to dive into a tunnel as the bus crashes and blocks the road. Saiko tries to reach them, but flaming zombies spill out of the wreckage. Before the bus explodes, Takashi shouts to Saiko that they'll meet at the police station. The explosion separates them, leaving Takashi and Rei on their own. As the smoke clears, a zombie suddenly ambushes Takashi from behind. It's wearing a motorcycle helmet, which keeps it from being whacked, and Takashi struggles to hold it back until Rei smashes its head with a brick. Takashi then notices the helmet, which means there must be a motorcycle nearby, and when he searches, he finds one. Despite not having a license, he starts it up, and Rei is astonished that Takashi can even drive it. He grins, telling her to hop on, and together they speed through the ruined streets. As the wind rushes past them, Takashi looks at the burning city and feels a hollow realization sink in, that he never thought the world could truly end. The day after the breakout, Takashi and Rei ride a bike to the east, where they see an army jet fly across them and take a picture of them. Later that night, Takashi and Rei stop on the road because they see a street full of zombies. Seeing them, Rei wonders if anyone will save them one day, but Takashi tells her the truth, saying that the government will not think of them. Rei tells Takashi that he is wrong, so Takashi reminds her that the government's helicopters fly across them even though they show signs of needing help. With this fact, Takashi tells her that they will never get any help from anyone, so they have to do what they must in the future, including repopulating the Earth. Rei doesn't like how Takashi is so blunt, and they start arguing. Suddenly, they hear a horde of zombies coming their way due to them being noisy, so Takashi starts the motorbike and continues their journey. Meanwhile, Saiko, Koichi, and the others arrive at the bridge to the east, but there is a long traffic jam because the officials are trying their best to maintain order. A bunch of zombies tries to ruin the situation, but the elite forces manage to clean them up easily. The sound of gunfire scares Koichi's group, so Koichi immediately tries to calm them down in a creepy, Diddy-like way, which disgusts Saya and Saiko. At midnight, Takashi and Rei reach the city, where they realize no one is there. only puddles of blood scattered around, and Takashi tells Rei that people either ran away or died after getting bitten. Then Rei points at a police officer because she wants to see what is going on. Takashi and Rei think there is someone inside the car, but they are shocked when they see a zombie officer inside, already dead. The police car is wrecked because a truck ran over it, and Takashi can smell the gas leaking, so he warns Rei to be careful, but Rei searches the entire police car and the officer. There, she finds a gun, handcuffs, and a few bullets. She gives them to Takashi, even though his only knowledge of using a gun comes from movies. Then the couple rides the bike again, and Rei tells Takashi that she knows he feels safer with a blicky in his pocket, even if it won't help much. They continue their journey, but soon they run out of gas, so they stop at the nearest gas station. Takashi tells Rei that every gas station could fill 100 cars, so she doesn't need to worry about running out of fuel. Then he realizes that the gas station is self-service, meaning he needs money to get gas. Takashi doesn't have any money, so he asks Rei, who mocks him for being broke.
Emotional, damn it!
But that offends him, so Takashi brings up Hisashi, admitting he isn't as perfect as him, which leads to another argument. Rei also doesn't have any money, so Takashi goes inside to see if he can find some. And there he finds a cash register but can't open it, so he smashes it with his baseball bat. While by herself, Rei thinks about how she should stop giving Takashi a hard time, but she is suddenly attacked by a stranger and she screams. Takashi rushes outside and sees a chopped-looking man holding a knife to Rei's neck. The man compliments Takashi for having such a hot babe with him, saying he wants Rei to stay with him in this destroyed world instead. He holds Rei hostage and tells Takashi that his family has turned into zombies, which made him go insane. So now, with Rei in his grasp, he has himself a jackpot. Rei struggles to break free, but the man easily grabs her by the plots, making her feel attacked. She shouts for Takashi to help her, so Takashi drops his bat because the man demands Rei and the motorbike. But he purposefully drops the bat hard, so it makes a sound, attracting zombies toward them. Then Takashi immediately starts filling the motorbike with gas, doing what the man demands. He begs the man to release Rei, but the man refuses. Takashi tries to reason with him, but the man only grows more unhinged, saying that he will clap Rei in front of him if he doesn't shut up. So then Takashi spots an opening. He rushes in front of him and pulls out the gun. The man freezes, cornered, and warns Takashi that if he fires, it could ignite the gas, but Takashi doesn't care, as he would rather die than lose Rei. So Takashi pulls the trigger and shoots the man in the shoulder. The man screams in pain, bleeding heavily. Rei wants to crush his nuts for what he did, but Takashi stops her, reminding her that the gunshot has drawn more zombies toward them. Rei understands that the undead will soon take care of the man who attacked her, so she gets on the bike with Takashi. They speed away, leaving the man behind as he begs for help. In the morning, Rei notices that Takashi hasn't spoken since the incident. When she asks, Takashi says they will meet more people like that man on the road, and people who have lost everything. His words unsettle Rei, so he tells her to forget it. But deep down, Takashi can't forget, because on the first day after the world ends, he becomes responsible for someone's death. By the next morning at the airport, the final private jet is preparing for departure. After checking that the passengers are alright, the pilot tries to take off from the runway, but there's a problem ahead. Zombies surround the entire runway, making it impossible for the plane to move, so they assign a sniper team, led by a total baddie that will make you call her Mommy, Rika, one of the best shooters in the country, who has been waiting since morning for permission to open fire, which explains why she keeps fidgeting and stretching to stay focused. Her partner offers to help her relax by massaging her buns and plots, but Rika refuses because she doesn't swing that way. He asks how the zombies ended up on the runway since the airport is by the seaside, and Rika explains that many important people were evacuated there for safety, but one of them got infected, which caused the outbreak at the airport. Even so, she believes the situation is under control, at least for now, and wonders how long that will last. Then, Rika says that she wants to head to the city because she has a friend and scissor buddy there, Shizuka, whom she's worried about. Meanwhile, Shizuka and the others are stuck in traffic on their way to the seaside airport. While waiting, Koichi gives his group a pep talk, telling them not to act selfishly and to think about the greater good. But no one from Takashi's group listens, especially Kota, who falls asleep out of boredom. Saya quickly wakes Kota up, and he complains that they should have gone to the suburbs instead. Saya explains that the seaside airport is the safest option, because many people can be flown to remote islands like Okinawa. And Saya and Kota wonder which island would be best, but they both know those islands will be controlled by the military and the good old freedom-loving Americans, which means that only selected people will be allowed to enter. Kota jokes that if he isn't chosen, he'll just lock himself in a room, but Saya scolds him, saying that kind of thinking will lead to isolation, just like Koichi, who doesn't even realize what he's becoming. While Koichi flirts with one of the students like a creep, Saya tells Kota that she needs a plan to survive, and someone she can trust, Takashi. Hearing this, Kota teases her, asking if she has feelings for Takashi, and Saya blushes deeply, which Shizuka and Seiko both notice. Seiko quietly admits that she's also worried about Takashi and Rei, realizing that she should have helped them back then. Meanwhile, Takashi and Rei stop in the middle of the road because they see people going insane and starting anarchy, where the city has become chaotic, survivors shoot at each other out of panic, and the world feels like hell. With no other choice, Takashi tells Rei to hold on tight as he speeds through the madness. One of the men notices them and opens fire, but Takashi manages to evade the bullets. Then he takes a sharp turn before reaching the bridge because he spots something horrifying. A bridge overflowing with zombies and desperate survivors trying to cross. The authorities guard the passage and only allow certain people through. And when a group of students tries to trespass, the authorities warn them to go back, but they refuse. So the soldiers spray them with water cannons, knocking the group leader into the river. His lover tries to save him, but she is also sprayed down. Seeing this chaos, Takashi decides that they should head for the Obetsu Bridge to meet up with the others. Back in traffic, Koichi continues his speech, saying that everyone must preserve their pride and that savages like Takashi and Rei don't belong with cultured people like them. Saya and the others realize that Koichi's group is turning into a cult, so Saeko suggests to them that they should abandon the bus and walk across the bridge instead, despite the traffic. She intends to keep her promise to Takashi, even though she still worries about her own family. When Shizuka asks where everyone lives, Saya says she lives near Takashi, next to the Obetsu Bridge. Kuta doesn't say where he lives but insists he'll go wherever Saya goes, which disgusts her. He tries to talk about his family, but Saya doesn't believe him. Shizuka admits she has nowhere else to go, so she decides to follow Saya and the others, saying she doesn't like Koichi's attitude, so Saya immediately makes her own plan to head toward the Obetsu Bridge. Koichi notices and tries to stop them, insisting that everyone must work together, but Saya refuses. Then, Koichi turns to Shizuka, saying that the students in his group need her because she's a nurse and can help repopulate if needed. But suddenly, Kuta fires a nail at Koichi, grazing his clapped skin. Koichi is shocked that Kuta attacks him, while Kuta, furious, shouts that he has always hated his guts. He knows Koichi looks down on him and he's sick of it. But in this new world, being normal means nothing anymore. So Kaota declares he will eliminate anyone if he has to. Koichi backs away in fear, and Kaota tells Saya and the others to get off the bus. After they leave, Koichi is left fuming after losing 4 baddies from his roster. Meanwhile, Takashi and Rei arrive near the Obetsu Bridge, but the situation there is just as bad as the other bridges. Rei wants to mention Hisashi, saying she wishes he were still with them, but Takashi cuts her off. Suddenly, they hear gunfire nearby, but Takashi recognizes the sound of a nail gun. There, Saya and the others are being cornered by zombies as they try to make their way to the Obetsu Bridge. Kuta has run out of ammo, leaving Seiko to fight off the undead with her sword. But she can't hold them all back, and the undead start to close in. Noticing the danger, Takashi uses his plot armor, drives full speed ahead, and jumps off a ramp, landing in front of Saya's group. Rei dives into the fight, and Takashi tosses his gun to Kuta before charging in alongside Seiko. The two fight in perfect sync, cutting down the remaining undead together. After the road is safe, Seiko smiles and tells Takashi she's glad to see him again, making both Saya and Rei jealous. They soon realize that the Obetsu Bridge is also blocked, meaning they must find another route. The group rests under the bridge where Seiko tells Takashi about everything that's happened. Saya notices the water upstream is rising, and Shizuka suggests they take shelter at her friend's nearby apartment. Kuta quickly agrees after hearing Saya mention wanting to take a shower, so everyone else agrees too. Then, Takashi goes with Shizuka to check the apartment first, where Shizuka, who misses a man's warmth, keeps touching places where she shouldn't touch. Later that night, they arrive and discover that Shizuka's friend owns a military vehicle, and the apartment is surrounded by high fences, seemingly safe from zombies. It looks like the perfect place to rest, but when they arrive, they realize the area is already swarmed by zombies. Without hesitation, Takashi and the others prepare to fight. As they face the horde together, Takashi feels a strange sense of awe that they've all changed so much in just a single day. Afterward, Takashi and the others manage to clear the apartment of zombies, so the girls go to take a bath together. In the bathroom, the girls have fun while cleaning up, getting to finally wash off the dirt from their sweet cheeks. Rei grows jealous of Shizuka's melons, so she reaches out and toys with those twin puppies. Meanwhile, Saya is complaining about why they have to bathe together, but Seiko teases her, making her let out happy noises. Saya then retaliates, but is annoyed when Seiko's happy noises sound mature and smooth. Outside, Takashi and Kuta hear the girls enjoying themselves, and Kuta asks Takashi if he wants to peek so they can goon. Takashi refuses because he doesn't want to die and get his willy cut off yet, so the two of them focus on other things and continue trying to open the safe in the room to look for supplies. After a long attempt, they finally open the safe and are shocked to see it filled with weapons, making them wonder why Shizuka's friend owns so many. Kuta becomes cheerful. giggling as he starts naming every weapon inside from his battlefield knowledge. Then, while the girls take their time in the bath, Takashi and Kuta load the guns with ammunition. Takashi struggles, but he notices Kuta handles the weapons easily. Kuta explains that when he went to America, he trained with a Delta Force captain for a month, which is why he is so familiar with guns. And hearing that, Takashi feels relieved to have him on their side. Takashi wonders how Shizuka's friend owns so many weapons in such a nice house, and Kuta explains that Shizuka's friend is part of the Special Forces. But that still doesn't explain the luxury, as Special Forces should be living in dormitories. So Kuta guesses Shizuka's friend either has a rich family or does something serious for extra money. Suddenly, the girls grow louder in the bathroom, making Kuta furious and wanting to goon. But Takashi doesn't mind since the noise from the bridge is even louder. On the bridge, people try to force themselves past barricades to safety. The police captain grows frustrated because communication with headquarters has been cut, and that the last order he received says that he can do anything necessary to maintain control. One officer reports that more civilians are trying to force their way inside and ask for orders, but the captain doesn't know what to do, so the officer suggests sacrificing some people for the greater good. The captain hates the idea, as his job is to protect civilians. Yet he is cornered, and it hasn't even been 2 days since the outbreak began. Back at the apartment, Takashi and Kuta watch the situation through binoculars, but Takashi gets scared because it looks like a horror movie, so he hands the binoculars to Kuta, who sees a group protesting the lockdown. They stage a demonstration, claiming they know the origin of the pandemic, so Takashi turns on the TV. The reporter claims the pandemic may have been caused by a leak of a biological weapon developed by Americans and the Japanese. Neither Takashi nor Kuta believes it, as science can't explain corpses walking and attacking people. Suddenly, gunshots erupt on the bridge, where police officers shoot zombies approaching the barricade, even though the captain hasn't given permission. A mother screams at them to stop because she and her child are still alive. She holds her sick child in her arms until he suddenly wakes up and bites her neck. Blood pours everywhere as both mother and child turn into zombies, and the police have no choice but to shoot her. The demonstration leader sees the police shoot a civilian, so he rallies the crowd into a frenzy. The police captain confronts him, telling him to calm down and stand back, but the leader refuses. The captain reminds him he has full permission to do whatever is needed to maintain control, and then he pulls out his gun and shoots the leader in the face, plunging everything into chaos. Takashi and Kuta watch the broadcast in horror, and Takashi decides they should move soon. Suddenly, someone grabs Takashi from behind, and the two panic, but it's just Shizuka being drunk and craving some fresh meat. When she leans in close, Takashi accidentally grabs her melons, and she keeps trying to tease him. She then gives Kuta a reward, a deep kiss on the cheek, which leaves him on cloud 9, and he escapes to the balcony to calm down his slimy pickle. Then, Shizuka feels sleepy, so Takashi carries her downstairs so she won't get noisy. He accidentally touches the almighty cakes, making her blush, and he says that he didn't mean to touch them, but admits to himself that he wouldn't mind if he had. Rei confronts him because she heard what he said, but Takashi notices that Rei is drunk, and she sees 3 of him. Then she suddenly breaks down crying. She says that she can't reach her father. She lost Hisashi in a single day, and she is exhausted. Then Takashi sets Shizuka down in the living room after she falls asleep. And there, he notices Saya asleep while looking like a snack. Then he grabs some juice from the fridge, where Sayako tells him their late-night snack is ready. Takashi is stunned when he sees Sayako wearing nothing but an apron, and he gets a little excited as the tastiest dish there is her. However, Sayako explains that she trusts him and Kota, so she doesn't mind being seen like that. Just then, Rei calls for Takashi, asking him to talk to her because she needs something. Before he goes, Saiko tells him he can call her by her first name, and she prefers it, causing Takashi to start stuttering. While Kuta stands on the balcony imagining things, Takashi talks with Rei, who brags about Hisashi again. Takashi snaps and tells her he is tired, and listening to her talk about Hisashi is draining, as he has his own problems. Rei calls him boring, which enrages him. He yells that she keeps bringing up Hisashi, even though Takashi is the one who ended Hisashi's suffering after he turned into a zombie. Takashi reminds her that she isn't the only one hurting, and he wants her to see the reality that they must focus on surviving. Rei is shocked because Takashi rarely expresses his feelings, and the room falls silent. She moves closer and has him sit on the stairway, bringing them nearer than before. Meanwhile, the police order a worker to drive through civilians and zombies, causing chaos. The police cheer when the crowd begins to move, but then the captain suddenly takes his own life, shocking everyone. Back at the apartment, Takashi stops Rei from kissing him, afraid he will get a little tight in his pants. Then they hear a dog barking outside, and when Takashi goes to check, he sees zombies surrounding the place, making him worry. While Takashi and his group are resting in the apartment, the situation at the bridge and around the building is getting chaotic. Takashi confronts the dog's noise, but he is surprised to find that the apartment is surrounded by zombies. A survivor in the neighborhood is trying to protect himself by shooting the zombies around him, but he can't reload properly, which leads to his death. Sayako hears Chie gunshot, so she goes to see what is happening outside. She also notices that things are getting serious, so Takashi tells Kuda to shoot them down. But Seiko reminds Takashi that the zombies are attracted to sound, so no one should use a gun. Seiko tells Takashi that the world has changed, and he can't save everyone. But Takashi thinks Seiko is wrong. So Sake then tries to convince him by giving him the telescope so he can see how bad the situation is. Takashi looks and sees a couple of survivors in the neighborhood getting eaten by zombies, and then he sees a girl, Alice, running away with her father. They take cover at a neighbor's house where Alice asks him about her mother. And while the father knows that she's dead, he tells Alice that they will see her soon. Alice's father then asks and begs the neighbors to help them because he has a daughter. But the neighbors refuse to let him or Alice in, scared that they might be zombies. Out of pure frustration, he threatens to break down the door, and because of his threat, the neighbors open the door, which makes him relieved, thinking they are now safe. But suddenly, he is stabbed by the neighbors, and Alice watches in horror. The neighbors don't trust anyone, so they immediately close the door again and leave Alice alone. Alice's father sits at the gate bleeding, and he knows he is going to die, so he tells Alice to hide somewhere else because he is fine. Eventually, he dies and Alice cries hysterically, which attracts the zombies. Takashi and Kuda see the horror, so Kuda opens fire on the zombies surrounding Alice, all the while the girls are still sleeping. Takashi asks him why he risked everything to save others, but Kuda tells him that it's a girl, and he wants to save her. Takashi understands, so he goes downstairs to prepare himself, and there he meets Rei. Takashi tells Rei that he is going to save a girl, and Rei wants to come with him, but Takashi tells her to guard the place. Just then, Saiko pops up and tells Rei to let him go, because he is a man who has made up his mind. Then, Takashi is ready to go on a rampage with his motorbike, Twisted Metal style, but before he leaves, Rei gives him a handgun as a precaution. Then, Saiko and Rei open the gate so Takashi can jump over the zombies, and his motorbike wakes Saya up, so she goes to see what is happening. When Saya asks, Rei tells her that she has finally realized they are still humans who care for others. Upstairs, Koda clears the path for Takashi with his sniper-like John Wick at his best, and then Takashi arrives at the neighbor's house. He tries to slide the motorbike to eliminate zombies, but he fails. Takashi sees Alice hiding with the dog in the corner, so he immediately tries to clear the zombies at the gate, but Koda is faster and shoots them down. After Takashi closes the gate, he clears the zombies in the house's lawn with a little help from Alice. Meanwhile, Saya tells Shizuka to wake up because they need to move, while Saya also tells Kuda to prepare. But he keeps staring at Shizuka because she is what every man wishes to see when they go home. After everyone is ready, they wonder how to get Takashi and Alice, but Shizuka tells them they can pick him up with the car, which they think is a great idea. Then, the girls put their belongings in the car and tell Koda they are ready. Back with Takashi, Alice tells him that her father has died, so Takashi covers her father's body with clothes to honor him and tells her that her father is a hero. Alice starts crying and wonders if they can escape the house surrounded by zombies, which confuses Takashi because now he wishes that he could turn into a titan and fly. But then he notices the zombies can't reach the fences, so he carries Alice and the dog and walks across the fences. Kuda sees that the girl's car can't pass the horde of zombies surrounding Takashi, so he wonders if Takashi has another plan. But then he sees Takashi walking across the fences, which he thinks is a good idea. Takashi tries his best not to slip because if he does, it's game over for him. While walking across the fences, the dog licks him, so Alice holds the dog. But then Alice tells him she needs to pee, which troubles him. He tells her to pee on him because they are surrounded by zombies, and while Alice is peeing, a zombie touches Takashi's foot, almost making them fall and meet their creator. But then he hears a car coming, and it's his friends trying to save him. They are scared about how to get through the zombies, but Saya tells Shizuka to just charge. Shizuka manages to clear a path, but Takashi is still too far. So Saiko and Koda eliminate several zombies so Takashi can get to the car safely. Saiko bashes zombie heads and Koda shoots them down with his shotgun. Little by little, Takashi gets closer. Alice asks who they are and Takashi tells her they are his dear friends. When he gets an opening, Takashi jumps over a fence and lands safely on the car. They successfully secure Alice, so Shizuka steps on the gas and gets them out of the zombie horde. Alice falls into Koda's lap, and Takashi accidentally lands on Saiko's melons, but they are safe. The group survives another day and escapes one problem, but they still haven't crossed the river or reunited with their families. Meanwhile, in the US Air Force plane, a couple of people turn into zombies, but they are eventually eliminated. The chairman and the president have been bitten, so the chairman begs the president to give them the code because they need to use it for the nuke. Back in Japan, Takashi and his group are crossing the river in the car. Kuda is getting close to Alice as they sing a song together, slowly calming her down after her father's death. Alice sings it in perfect English, but when Kauda sings a parody version of the song, Saya is furious to hear the disrespect. Then Shizuka manages to cross the river, so she wakes everyone up. When Rei wakes up, she wants to let Takashi sleep more. But when she sees Saiko happily sleeping on his lap, she pinches Takashi's cheek to wake him up. When she shows him who has been sleeping on his nether region, Takashi is surprised. so he quickly wakes Saiko up, who is drooling. Then, Takashi wants to get out because it's a good time for the girls to change their clothes. Rei immediately tells the guys not to peek while the girls are changing if they want to keep their eyes intact. While the girls are changing, Kuta tells Takashi about Alice and her family. Then Kuta introduces the dog to Takashi, and the dog's name is Zeke, which comes from the US military. While the girls take their time changing, Kuta gives Takashi a shotgun and explains how to use it. Takashi believes that he is better with a bat, but after Kuta teaches him, he is willing to give it a try. Then the girls finish changing, which strikes the guys because of what they are wearing. Takashi notices Rei holding a sniper rifle, and she tells him that Kuta can teach her how to use it because she wants to use it like a spear. After clearing the path, Shizuka drives the car to the pathway, almost crushing Kuta. They are confused about what to do next, so they decide to go to Saya's house first because it is the closest. Saya doesn't expect that her family is still alive, but Takashi believes they are. While on the road, Takashi is worried because he notices helicopters rarely pass anymore, and he tries to believe everything is okay, despite the lack of helicopters or planes. Then Rei tells him they haven't seen any zombies lately, which relieves him, so he calms down and closes his eyes. Suddenly, Kuta spots zombies ahead, so Shizuka drives like a pro and finds a safe place. Takashi is shocked because there are more zombies near Saya's house. After turning corner after corner, Saya tells Shizuka to drive over the zombies, but they don't know there is a wire attached to the walls. Shizuka uses her instincts and immediately turns the wheel, saving all of them. But she can't stop the car, so she hits the emergency brake, which flings Rei out of the car and injures her. Rei lies on the ground, unable to move as zombies close in, while the group is stuck and surrounded. Takashi immediately saves Rei, but she can't stand up, so he tries to use his shotgun. He remembers what Kuta taught him, but he still misses. So Kuta shouts instructions, and Takashi is surprised by how easy and reliable it becomes, so he eliminates the zombies around them with Kuta by his side. Then Takashi runs out of bullets and he tries to reload but drops them. Suddenly, Saiko leaves the car and bashes zombies with her wooden sword, even though Takashi told her not to. Seeing Alice and Kuta struggling, Takashi believes they are going to die. He hugs Rei because he wants to die together with her, but then he notices Rei still holding the sniper, so he immediately uses it. Kuta tells him to take the shot, so Takashi fires the sniper rifle using Rei's body as a table, and the bullet magically travels across Saiko's body, but still hits several zombies, while the vibration from the sniper makes Rei release happy noises. Eventually, Kuta runs out of bullets, so he asks anyone to grab more. Alice quickly grabs them, and when Kuta sees Alice tearing up, he locks in with determination. Inside, Shizuka can't start the car, so Saya goes out to take Takashi's weapon to buy her time. Saya is almost bitten, but Saiko saves her. Then Saya gets furious and encourages herself, refusing to die because her house is just around the corner. Hundreds of zombies go down, but the group eventually runs out of bullets, leaving them cornered. Then Takashi sees Zeke run out and try to take down a zombie, so Takashi takes Saya's gun because he is a man. He bashes zombies alongside Saiko, and then Saiko tells him to follow her. Saiko and Takashi run up the stairs after passing the zombies, but their plan to lure the horde away fails, leaving their friends surrounded. While Saya helps Rei, Kuta tells Alice that she needs to jump over the fence with Zeke. He assures her that they will be okay and will be with her soon. But Alice notices Kuta lying because he has the same expression her father had when he died. Alice cries and tells him she wants to stay with them forever, and Takashi can only watch. Just when Kuta is about to throw Alice across the barbed wire, a girl and her group suddenly appear and save them. The leader tells them to leave the car behind because they will fix it once the situation is clear, and Shizuka thanks the leader, but to their surprise, it turns out to be Saya's mother. Saya immediately hugs her mother, tears falling from her eyes. Takashi and Saiko see that their friends are saved, but when they realize that the zombies are now after them, they immediately run away, while saying that they will meet the others at Saya's place. Then, Takashi and Saiko take a detour to Saya's house, separating themselves from the group, and Takashi is surprised to find zombies nearby, so they choose another path that's less dangerous. Takashi can already see Saya's house from a distance, which makes him wish he had a bike at that moment. Then he remembers the motorbike store Alice mentioned, so he leads Saiko there. Takashi tells Saiko to get ready while he picks up the motorbike, but then they discover a back room where they find a limited edition four-wheeled car that can travel on water, and Takashi is intrigued by it, so he takes it. While they are on the road, Takashi teases Saiko about a plan he has, saying it will be amusing, and Saiko can't wait to see it. Then he starts his plan by heading towards the river to lure the zombies there to the stairs, thinking the fall will finish them. But when they survive, he immediately switches to plan B. Takashi then drives the car into the river, but things turn messy as water. Splashes everywhere. Takashi checks if Saiko is okay, but he is stunned when he sees her completely soaked, and he can see her plots through her wet clothes, which makes her shy. After waiting by the river, Takashi and Saiko notice that the zombies can't enter the water and eventually leave. So Takashi rides the car to a sandbank, where they take a break. While Takashi explains how he used to visit the area when he was young, Saiko tells him they should rest. Suddenly, Saiko starts sneezing because she's catching a cold from her soaked clothes, so Takashi immediately grabs a tank top for her to wear. While Saiko changes, Takashi gets shy and doesn't dare to look at her, knowing she could chop his head off. But then, Takashi is surprised by Saiko's appearance afterward, which makes him blush. Saiko asks if he ever sees her as a woman, which makes him nervous, but instead of answering, Takashi asks if she likes someone, which embarrasses him because it slips out without him thinking. To his surprise, Saiko answers and tells him that she does like a man but doesn't reveal who, leaving Takashi wondering. As the sun sets and the number of zombies decreases, they decide to leave the sandbank and continue their journey. Takashi and Saiko struggle with the zombies on the road, but Takashi already has something in mind. He rides toward the park, confusing Saiko, and then drives straight into the park's fountain, soaking her again. Takashi tells Saiko to hand him the tape quickly, and he tapes the pedal so the ride can move on its own in the water. Saiko is impressed because the noise from the car will lure the zombies away, allowing them to reach Saya's house from the back. Takashi explains he doesn't want to use his gun because the echo will draw more zombies, so Saiko jumps off the bike and fights with her wooden sword. Saiko has no reason to stop, so she strikes the zombies around her, which scares Takashi because she looks like a psycho. Suddenly, Saiko freezes because she can't bring herself to hit the smaller zombies, so Takashi eliminates them himself. Takashi wonders what happened to her, and immediately carries her to safety. They hide in a shrine where Takashi asks what's wrong, but she stays silent, so he says that they will stay the night and move again in the morning. After lighting a candle, Takashi finds a real sword and gives it to Saiko, but she still keeps her distance from him. Takashi prepares clothes and a place for her to rest, but she doesn't move, so he leaves her alone. After Saiko finishes changing, Takashi rests beside her and hands her their last portable toilet, which makes her laugh. The room grows quiet, so Takashi tells Saiko she must have had a reason for freezing earlier. After some silence, Saiko says it might not seem big to him, but she wants him to listen. Saiko reveals she does have feelings for a man, but she never confessed because she wants to know if he would still love her even if she had once committed a murder. Saiko explains that years ago she was attacked by a man who wanted to do the dirty with her, but she defended herself with her training sword. She broke his bones, and while the police understood and took her in, she eventually admitted the truth that she enjoyed hurting him. She hurt him until he begged, without hesitation, and she tells Takashi that this is her true self, someone who is cruel and eager to beat people. And when she froze at the water fountain, she realized she hadn't changed. Takashi is shocked and tells her he is cruel too because he doesn't care and keeps whacking zombies. But Saiko reminds him that he changed after the chaos, unlike her, who has been cruel since birth. Saiko begins losing control and Takashi didn't have the right words, but he holds her hand, trying to reassure her the only way he could, and he kisses her. The next day, Takashi and Saiko head outside and prepare to continue towards Saya's house, but suddenly zombies appear because of the sound of leaves blowing. They become surrounded, and Takashi prepares to fight, but he notices Saiko freezing again. Out of desperation, he squeezes the orange juices and tells her he adores her and doesn't want her to die, which encourages her. Sayako snaps out of it and tells him she's glad that he likes her for who she is. Then, with her new blade, she gets into her stance and cuts down the zombies, finding the feeling irresistible. After she slices and dices all of them, Sayako feels good inside. Then the two continue their journey. Sayako asks if Takashi will take responsibility, and Takashi says he will if that's what she wants. Meanwhile, Kuda and Alice wait behind Saya's house. Suddenly, Zeke starts barking because Takashi and Sayako arrive, which makes Saya jealous because they seem so close. The next morning, at Saya's mansion, Takashi is helping Shizuka putting lotion on Rei and holding her down while Shizuka massages her after what happened. When they're done, Rei gets annoyed at Takashi for firing the gun on her melons, which bruised her twin puppies, and even though she wants him to help put more lotion on her body, Takashi acts clueless, so Rei kicks him out of the room. Outside, he notices two people struggling to carry something heavy, so he goes to help them. But when they clock him trying to lend a hand, they wave him off and tell him to relax while the adults handle things. Takashi gets irritated, but Saiko shows up and tries to calm him. When Takashi sees her wearing a kimono, he can't help staring, and not being able to help himself. He compliments her looks. For once, Saiko blushes and seems flattered, and they laugh together about how quiet everything feels. Alice suddenly appears and asks what they're laughing about, and Takashi tells her they're just happy to see her doing well after everything that happened. Out of nowhere, Saya starts screaming in anger at someone, and when Takashi tries to talk to her, he makes the situation even worse. Saya snaps at him for trying to get involved and storms off. Right after, her hot mother Yuriko arrives, looking like a supermodel, and greets Takashi, whom she's known since he was a kid. Takashi compliments the mansion, but Yuriko says she knows he never visited before because he's scared of the place due to its mob connections. She explains that even though they've built a safe haven inside the house, it took a lot of effort considering how the workers are missing their families, supplies running low, and generators needing fuel. But they still managed to pull it off, which Takashi finds impressive. Then Yuriko asks him to convince her daughter, Saya, not to leave the mansion, but to join the family's faction instead. Meanwhile, Kuta is chilling alone when Saya walks in to talk. She tries to persuade him that they need to leave this safe haven behind. When Kuta asks why, she avoids giving a straight answer. One of the workers then walks in and tells Kuta not to mess around with guns, saying that only adults should use weapons. Saya speaks up, surprising him because he didn't notice the family's princess is there, and he tells her that the Humvee is fixed before rushing off in embarrassment. After he leaves, Saya explains that this is exactly why they need to go, and it's because the adults treat them like little kids. Later, Takashi and the group gather around where Rei is resting to talk about whether they should stay together or join Saya's family faction. Takashi tries to ease Saya's tension by saying her parents did an incredible job handling the zombie outbreak, but his words trigger something in her. She starts talking nonstop about how amazing her parents are for building a safe place for other people, but then her tone shifts. She rants that even with all their intelligence, they abandoned her at the start and would have left her to die if Takashi and the others hadn't saved her. Takashi finally loses his patience, grabs her by the collar, and tells her she's acting like a spoiled brat who can't see that. Unlike her, who still has her parents alive, the rest of them have no idea if their families even survived. Saya realizes she crossed a line, and Takashi sets her down. Suddenly, a convoy of cars arrives, and stepping out is the man who runs the place, Chatty McChad, Saya's father, Suichiro. He brings out a zombie in a cage, one who used to be a friend of his, and showcases it to everyone to show them what must be done. They open the cage, and with one swing of his sword, the zombie's head flies into the fountain. Suichiro tells everyone that this is now the reality, and they must be ready to fight the people they once loved, let it be their parents, children, or lovers if they want to survive. Out of nowhere, Kota gets triggered and says Soichiro's sword is useless compared to his guns. Seiko tries to defend the sword and how effective it can be, but Kuta refuses to listen, saying that they're useless. When Takashi tries calming him down, he gets aggressive, and Saya actually takes Takashi's side, which angers Kuta, so he runs off, jealous and upset. Takashi feels annoyed, but Alice tells him he needs to have a man-to-man talk with Kuta to settle things. Later, Alice comes running back to Takashi, panicked, saying Kuta needs help. Elsewhere, Kuta is trying to protect his guns from adults who think he shouldn't be using them. Suddenly, Suichiro himself walks in, introduces himself, and asks Kuta why he deserves to have those guns instead of the adults. Before Kuta can answer, Takashi steps in and says Kuta has been using them to protect Soichiro's daughter, Saya. Takashi tells him that even though he's Saya's childhood friend, it's actually Kota who's been supporting her nonstop. Saiko arrives to back up Takashi's words, and Saya appears saying that even though Kuta looks like a fat, gross, disgusting loser, like the people who watch this video, he's also the reason she's alive, something that her own family can't claim. And hearing this, Kuta is touched. Meanwhile, one of Koichi's brainwashed students sneaks outside the mansion to tell Koichi they found a safe place at Saya's home. Back at the bus, Koichi is enjoying himself, surrounded by girls, turning the whole thing into a twisted cult where the girls fight to get some of his sweet nectar. Koichi keeps running his mouth, bragging that with his virgin followers by his side, the world will once more become pure, all the while leaving one of his male students outside to get eaten, just because the dude talked back to him. Back at the mansion, Saya gathers the civilians and lays out the real truth about the zombies, explaining they aren't some kind of government-made bioweapons, but the residents shut her down and insist it must be an infection caused by a chemical spill. Saya tries tapping into her harsher side, saying that it's pointless for them to make any theories as it's not important, and that survival means doing whatever's needed, just like what her dad did to his best friend. But one of the clapped-looking hoe of a resident starts twisting the whole thing into claiming Saya's group just wants to clap all day and cause violence. Saya and the others attempt to reason with her, but this woman rallies the others, painting herself as a peace-bringer, and labeling Saya's group as nothing but kids who only want to whack zombies like it's the arcade. It leaves Saya irritated that these clueless idiots won't listen simply because they're younger. But Kuta gets it, saying people will reject anything they don't want to accept. Takashi connects that to when he refused to acknowledge Rei choosing Hisashi, and he admits he can see both sides. After hearing his thoughts, both Saya and Kuta point out that his mindset makes him fit to be their leader. Meanwhile, Suichiro, who knew Seiko's father, a legendary swordsman, presents Seiko with a special blade crafted by a master weaponsmith. When she draws it, Seiko instantly recognizes it as Murata's double-edged sword, and Suichiro tells her he wants her to have it. He knows what she is capable of from what her father once told him about her sword mastery, and believes she should use it to help protect Saya. Seiko replies that if his goal is protecting his daughter, he should keep Saya close or even give the sword to the person she considers their real leader, Takashi. While Suichiro knows Takashi from childhood and acknowledges his courage, he also sees Takashi's hesitation and insists a leader can't waver, especially in a crisis where there are people who rely on him. At the same time, Takashi is still conflicted about being labeled the leader, but Rei shows up to talk and lift him up. She shares a girl's secret, saying that while girls enjoy boys who treat them kindly, they're also drawn to men with courage. She's witnessed Takashi's bravery countless times, and while she is sitting on his lap, she confesses that out of love, she wants to stay by his side. Takashi leans her back, and though he questions whether he's doing the right thing, Rei is fully ready to accept him whole, asking him to be gentle while at it. They end up doing the humpy bumpy, leaving Rei barely able to walk. When she finally limps out of the room, she runs into Saiko, who tells her she was waiting outside because of the noises. Rei asks Saiko to give Takashi some encouragement, and Saiko accepts. Away from the mansion, Koichi's bus arrives, and one of his brainwashed girls sticks her plots out the window to lure the guards, convincing one of them who likes to goon to let them through. Meanwhile, Takashi has made a decision and tells Suichiro he wants to look for his mother, and later help Rei find her father. Suichiro warns him that his family and faction are leaving tomorrow and won't wait for anyone. But Takashi, fully committed, accepts being abandoned if it means saving his mom. Impressed by his resolve, Suichiro supports his choice. Just as Takashi and Rei prepare to depart, Saiko walks in full gear, saying that she wants to join them on the journey. They try discouraging her from following, but she insists, fueled by the confidence of receiving her new sword. Suddenly, Rei glances outside and bursts into rage, sprinting out with her bayonet ready. Outside, Koichi has already arrived, and one guard gushes over Koichi and his amazing politician father. Koichi, however, has no admiration, revealing he views his father as a tyrant whose cruelty drove his mother to end her life. When Koichi became a teacher, his corrupt father, who was campaigning for mayor, clashed with Rei's righteous police officer father, and ordered Koichi to teach him a lesson by sabotaging Rei and making her repeat a grade. Rei storms out with her, gun aimed at Koichi's head, and while he tries playing the innocent victim, Rei calls out how he hurt her and her father, tearing down her father's spirit and pride. Suichiro arrives, urging Rei to blow Koichi's head off, saying he knows exactly how vile Koichi's father is. Takashi attempts to intervene, but Saiko restrains him, saying the choice is Rei's and Rei's alone. Suichiro tells Rei that whether she shoots or not must be her burden to carry, and Koichi taunts her to pull the trigger, insisting she's just like her father, a spineless dog. After wrestling with the decision, Rei lowers her weapon, walks away, and declares Koichi unworthy of wasting a single bullet. Everyone feels relieved, but Koichi is furious at the disrespect, and Suichiro kicks him and his degenerate cult out of the mansion. Far across the sea, a U.S. nuclear submarine receives orders to launch missiles at its rival nations, viewing the outbreak as a chance to strike. The crew hesitates, prays for forgiveness, and fires the warheads, sending them toward Russia and other targets. High above, astronauts on a space station detect the incoming missiles and are stunned to see Russia launching its own nukes toward the US, triggering the beginning of the end. Meanwhile, Japan is ordering its fleet to intercept the incoming missiles aimed at their homeland, and though their forces manage to take out most of them, one missile keeps flying. Panic erupts as they try frantically to reach the ship assigned to stop that final missile, unaware that the vessel is already lost, overrun entirely by zombies, leaving the warhead unchecked. Back at the mansion, Shizuka suddenly remembers her friend's number and practically leaps with excitement, desperate to call her. She asks for a phone and actually manages to get through to her friend, Rika. They exchange relieved words about being alive, but before they can say more, a blinding white flash erupts on the horizon, frying every electronic device in the region. Outside the mansion, Koichi's bus immediately loses its engine, causing it to crash straight into the barricade and exposing everyone to the zombie crowd. The flash plunges the whole area into chaos as computers die, pacemakers shut off, and hope drops to zero. Seeing the flash, Saya instantly recognizes it as an EMP blast capable of shutting down an entire nation's technology. To verify, she tells Rei to inspect her weapon's red dot sight, and when Rei sees the dot is gone, it confirms Saya's suspicion. Their tech is dead, but Saya explains they can still use vehicles without computer chips if they replace the necessary components. Suichiro, impressed at how calm his daughter is despite the crisis, praises her composure. Suddenly, zombies swarm the front entrance, and while the residents panic, Suichiro orders the gate shut, leaving whoever is outside to die and get eaten. One zombie slips in before the gate closes, but Koda drops it with a clean shot, forcing the adults to apologize for calling him a kid. A guard then hands weapons to Suichiro and his wife. Yuriko reveals that she used to be a Secret Service agent on the same level as James Bond, and gives Saya a gun of her own. Saya doesn't know how to use it, so Yuriko tells Kuda to teach her daughter, and he happily agrees. The gate begins to shake violently, and even with everyone pushing, the zombies burst through, slaughtering the guards at the front. Takashi wants to help, but he orders his group to fall back. The horde crashes into the residents' camp, tearing people apart, and the same obnoxious hoe who caused trouble earlier panics and tries bargaining with a zombie not to eat her tasty coochie. But when the zombie doesn't listen, it ends up with her hacking its head with a cleaver. She loses her mind, and when the zombies eventually chew her up, she keeps shrieking in madness. Unlike the useless adults, Takashi and the gang are actually holding their ground. Takashi takes charge, Saiko and Rei back him up, and Kota, the weapons madman himself, provides ranged cover, With chaos everywhere, Soichiro calls all men to rise and push through the swarm while the women and children get to safety. Takashi and Kuta step forward to help, but Soichiro tells Takashi to stay out of it and instead follow his own path, beginning with saving his mother. He then tells Kauta, man to man, that he expects him to protect his beloved daughter. Saya protests, insisting that they barricade themselves inside, but Soichiro rejects the idea, saying it will only trap them until they're eaten. As she keeps arguing, her mother gives her a slap as hard as the one I gave your mother, and tells her to go with Takashi's group because she and Soichiro have their own fight to handle. Alice wanders in, confused, and Yuriko hugs her, saying she reminds her of young Saya and telling her to obey Takashi and the others. Yuriko then orders the counterattack. After their parents motivate her, Saya tells them she loves them and leaves with the group. They blast zombies apart with dynamite, and with a sword in hand, Soichiro charges ahead. As they battle on, Yuriko says their time is nearly up, but neither she nor Soichiro fears dying because they have each other and they keep fighting. Meanwhile, the group reaches the garage to retrieve their Humvee, but the mechanic climbs out from below, and he says that the Humvee is EMP-proof, but needs a bit more work, so Takashi and the others hold off the zombies while it's repaired. Eventually, the mechanic finishes the job, and with Shizuka driving, they pile in and escape. The mechanic refuses to join them, choosing to die with honor in his garage. The Humvee plows through the zombies, and when they pass Soichiro, he finally breathes easier, knowing his precious princess is safe. They race toward the ruined barricade, and with the power of Aniplot armor on their side, they manage to squeeze through. On the road, the group tries to cheer up Saya, but Kuta firmly tells her to stay strong, snapping her out of her sadness. They eventually reach the highway, but are halted by a massive wall of zombies. Still, after everything they've endured, their trust in each other keeps them going as they try their best to survive the zombie apocalypse. Comment down below. Zombies if you watch till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.